to be here with you for some plug-in and power up. I am so joyful to be here live. This is the first time I'm streaming live on YouTube, which is so exciting. So every Wednesday, I am going to be here with you streaming live on YouTube for Plug It and Power Up. Plug It and Power Up is something that I've been doing. It's episodes that I've been doing on Facebook live since, before Aria was born. I think I was pregnant. So that was more than 6 years ago already, which is amazing. So I'm so excited to be here in this new way, new fashion, new platform. And every Wednesday, we are going to be exploring life, different pieces of life, walking through life, because we're walking through life together. We are walking through life together. You're walking through life with someone. I'm walking through life with someone. And I'm walking through life with me and my higher self. And so we are going to explore many different topics as we walk through life together. And today, this one dropped down straight from source. You know, it's interesting because I've been wanting to go live on YouTube for a really, really long time. And so I'm always like, do we change the name? Do we change this? Do we change that? Going through all these different flows and fluctuations and emotions and all sorts of things. And I went to bed last night and I said, okay, Spirit, if it is meant to be, I'm like, just drop it down and I'll go with whatever comes. And they said, this is what we're going to call it, Walking Through Life, Plug It and Power Up on Wednesdays. And I was like, sweet. And the topic that dropped down for today is moving through the emotions. So really being able to process your emotions instead of deflect, stuff, hide, run, suppress, medicate, because there's so many things that we can do with our emotions. So many things we can do with our emotions. And this is the time, I've been saying this for many, many years. This is the time that we need to master our emotions. We need to learn how to move through our emotions, not suppress them, redirect them, project them, stuff them, hide them. Your freedom, your expansive life, being able to manifest with precision, being able to have harmonious, loving relationships is key to your emotions. It's linked to your emotions. So when you have your emotions dialed in, when you're able to navigate your emotions, when you're able to flow through your emotions, when you're able to learn how to process your emotions, you are free. Because then it's not about, I just did a talk about this yesterday in terms of emotions. A lot of people in the business world go through these emotions of overwhelm, right? Feeling overwhelmed with all the to-dos, all the tasks, especially if you have a family, right? As we do, we have twins and a little girl. And so life is busy, twin boys and a little girl. Life is busy. Life is wonderfully busy, blissfully busy, as I like to say. And there are a lot of moving parts. And so somebody asked me the question, they said, do you get overwhelmed anymore? I'm like, yes, I get overwhelmed. But the difference is I don't attach to the overwhelm. I know how to move through the overwhelm. Same thing, clients. I've been doing this work. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Tara Antler, and I'm an intuitive healer and a soul coach. And I've been doing this, what I call non-work, for 20 years. It'll be coming up to 21 years this August. And I've worked with close to 15,000 clients one-to-one in intuitive healing sessions. And one of the things that I get asked all the time from clients and students is, do you still experience stress? Yes, I do. Do you still experience anger? Yes, I do. Well, what's wrong? I thought that the whole goal to this was to be able to surpass these big emotions, to be able to surpass all the anger and the rage and the overwhelm and the stress and the strain and the shame and the blame and all these big, heavy emotions, these dark emotions that nobody really wants to sit in, and because they're really uncomfortable and nobody likes to feel them. I get that. And I get where that misconception can come from too. The key though is not to suppress and think that if I get to this spiritual place, I get to this, personal growth place in my life and I'm never going to experience these emotions again. That's not likely the case. What's more truthful, what is more honest, and what is more doable for us is to accept that all emotions they all exist, just like bliss and happiness and joy and peace, they all exist. And so do the other emotions too. And one of the first things to understand or to get about emotions is that emotions are here to grow you, to expand you, to elevate you, and to have you experience the richness of life. Think of the full spectrum, the color of the rainbow, right? When we are able to see all the colors of the rainbow, not just one color, but all the colors simultaneously, we're like, yee, wow, look at the rainbow. It's so beautiful. That's what gets to make a rainbow. But imagine if you only saw one band. It'd be pretty cool. I mean, when we lived in Ireland, we saw a white rainbow. That was really, really cool. It was a foggy day, as per usual in Ireland, especially where we were living at the time in Wexford. It was beautiful, very foggy. But it was a white arch, and I had never seen a white arch. So it was incredible to see that, right? Because it was an anomaly for us. And, I think if we saw just a blue rainbow, we'd still think it's pretty cool. If we saw a pink rainbow, pretty cool. When you see all the colors of the rainbow, it gives you this experience of, right? And not one color is better or worse. You might have a preference, right? You might prefer pink or blue or purple. You might prefer certain emotions like happiness, bliss, joy, abundance, flow. You might prefer certain things, and that's okay. I prefer certain emotions too. And I don't poo poo on all the other colors. I don't poo poo on all the other emotions. I accept that they're there and I allow myself to experience all the emotions. Now, the second piece to this is being able to give yourself the space to feel the emotions, not forever. You don't want to stay in rage forever. You don't want to stay in guilt forever. You don't want to stay in shame forever. You don't want to stay in anger. You don't want to stay in overwhelm forever. Those, what we call the shadow emotions, they're important to experience, but know that they are there to experience. And it's up to you to choose, how long do I want to experience this for? Do I choose to experience this for a moment, for a minute, for a day? Some people choose to experience it for a week or a month or a year or their whole lives. And the reason why some people experience certain emotions for their whole life or a month or longer is many times because they don't know how to move through those emotions. They don't know how to process those emotions. So I want you to really get that emotions are not bad. No emotion is bad. Emotions are emotions. Emotions are meant to be experienced. Emotions are meant to be felt. That's the key, right? Then learning how to move through certain emotions by giving yourself permission to feel the emotion. The moment you give yourself space to feel the emotion, think about a child who's going through a temper tantrum, right? If I rush in and I do my adult thing where I'm like, what are you crying for? What's going on? What's happening here? Why can you stop that? This is so uncomfortable. I don't understand what's going on. Now I'm starting to feel something different too. Instead of feeling calm and chilled out and hold the space for the child having the temper tantrum, where I might actually learn something. And I might actually be able to just give them the space and hold the space and let them move through their emotions, which is super healthy, by the way. How many times as a child were we told to stop that? Why are you acting like this? Why are you being like this? This is uncomfortable. What are you doing? Right? And then all of a sudden we feel wrong. We feel wrong for what we're experiencing. We feel wrong for these emotional uh, things. We don't even know what they are. We're like, I don't know. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm crying. I just feel like this, right? We start to feel bad. And when we feel bad, what happens is we start poo-pooing on those emotions, and certain emotions become acceptable, right? The really happy ones. You're happy. Great. You're happy. Great. Let's stay happy. Great. You're happy, right? Let's stay happy. And anything outside of the happiness, hi, Denise, anything outside of happiness, anything outside of joy then becomes poo-pooed upon. And then we don't want to feel that. We don't want to feel upset. We don't want to feel anger. We don't want to feel rage. We don't want to feel sadness. We don't want to feel guilt. We don't want to feel shame. We don't want to feel overwhelmed. We don't want to feel stress. And go on, right? There's so many emotions to experience. So it's really not about not feeling. It's about feeling. And at first, though, when we're first starting this journey of processing and learning how to navigate our emotions, we have to make peace with our emotions. And you have to make peace within yourself that all emotions are okay. They're the full spectrum of the rainbow. They are the full band of the rainbow. And again, not one color is better or worse. They're just different spectrums, different emotions, different ranges. It's all okay. It's all okay. And as soon as that happens, you go, okay, whew. It's okay. It's okay that I can feel right now. I can feel, or I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling stress. I'm feeling anxiety. I'm feeling worry. It's okay. It's okay. You will find there's more space when you give yourself the space. Just like a child having a temper tantrum, when you give them the space, they can move through that emotion much more quickly than if you're on them and being like, stop feeling this way. Why are you feeling this way? Stop that, stop that, stop that. Because we're uncomfortable with the emotions. We don't know how to process the emotions. And when we as the adult don't know how to process the emotions, what do? We deflect and project. We deflect and project. We deflect and we project. And we put that onto our kids. And then the kids go, hey, and then they freeze. And what happens is, and I talked to our Thrive 365ers about this, which is our beautiful spiritual incubator where you get to go through life mastery. And so I have often talked about this. When we freeze our emotions, we encapsulate them inside of our body. And at some point, those emotions will have to thaw and will come back out. Somehow, some way, they will come back out. They leak out. They ooze out. The body freaks out and does all sorts of stuff. And all of a sudden, we have to deal with it. We have to process it. So all emotions, at some point, you do need to process. And processing means not digging, not taking it with you could, if you want to, you could take a magnifying glass, you could take a fine tooth comb, and you could just give yourself the space to just breathe and to just experience and to just be in that emotion. That's also processing. By you paying attention to it for a moment, a minute, 5 minutes, half an hour, and fully being with that emotion, giving yourself the space, knowing that it's not wrong, knowing that you feeling what you feel, it's okay. When you do that, all of a sudden you're like, it's okay. And in that moment, you feel. And in that moment, you might breathe a little deeper. And in that moment of breathing a little deeper, you might go a little deeper. And in the moment that you go a little deeper, you might see a little deeper. You might have an awareness as to what is that emotion teaching you? What is it connected to? It might grow you. It might give you something. Most emotions do. They always have a gift for us. And so when we allow ourselves, so these are the steps to start that process, right? The process, right? However you want to pronounce it. Is first know that all emotions are okay. They're like the full spectrum of the rainbow. Not one emotion is better or worse. We have our preferences, and that's okay. I have my preferences too. You get to choose. You really do get to choose. In this moment, I choose to show up fully. I choose to be happy. I choose to be present, right? I choose to be grounded. I choose to be plugged in. I choose to emanate light. That's a feeling too. And if ever I feel fluctuations in the day, if I feel discouraged, if I feel upset, if I feel, like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. I've mentioned this before. Stop for a moment, drop into that emotion, acknowledge that all emotions are like the full color spectrum of the rainbow. Feel. Place your hand on your heart, on your body. Feel. Let yourself feel. Time it if you need to. I give myself permission to feel this feeling for 1 full minute or 2 full minutes or 5 full minutes. I'm going to feel it. And the most important thing is to not overthink it, because once you overthink it, you start moving into what they call emotional intelligence. Now, I want you to do a little homework, soul work. I want you to look up in the dictionary what intelligence is. What is the definition of intelligence, right? It's of the intellect. Intellect is of the mind. Emotions are something different altogether. Emotions are not in the mind. Emotions can be affected by the mind. Emotions can affect the mind, and the mind can affect the emotions, right? Just like the mind and the emotions can affect the body, but they are different things. My body is connected to my mind, but it's not my mind. My mind is connected to my body, but my mind is my mind, and my body is the body, and the emotions are the emotions. So when we start over analyzing, when we start figuring out, when we start putting the intellect, the emotional IQ on things, the emotional intelligence on things, we're now taking it out of the realm of the emotions, which are meant to move and teach us and grow us, and not to have confinement, no bounds, right? Once you go into the intellect and you go into the understanding and you go into the intelligence, you're now putting the mind over top of your emotions, and the mind will often encapsulate those emotions, and that then it will often lock it. So this is where all three are connected. Mind, body, and emotions are all connected. So when the intellect comes in, it puts an encasing around those emotions, and it often locks it down in your body. And that's where it stuffs it. It stores it. It encapsulates it. It freezes it in the body. And then we go, okay, we're good. I understand what that emotion's about. I got it. I intellectualize that. I put my emotional intelligence to work. But did you feel it? Did you feel it? Did you really feel it? Did you feel the intensity of it? Oh, did you feel the expansiveness of it? Right? Did you feel it? Feeling is so important. Again, if you want to have a thriving life, if you want to be an excellent creator and manifester, if you want to feel fulfilled in your life, feeling, not emotional intelligence, feeling, emotional well-being, emotional processing, emotional moving is really, really important. And when you put the processing or the intellect on the emotions, when you put the intellect and the IQ on the emotions, and they get stuffed and stored in the body. And then we go, oh yeah, I'm over that. I'm done with that. Oftentimes what happens, and I've seen this in many, many clients, oftentimes what happens is later down the road, something erupts, something gets triggered. Why? Why is it that some people could be in the same room, half the room gets triggered and half the room doesn't? Is it because some people have just better coping mechanisms? Maybe. Or is it because half the people maybe have processed whatever that emotional trigger is and the other half haven't because it's been trapped and locked in the body because of maybe this emotional intelligence and intellect that's trapped it in the body. And all of a sudden we have this trigger. What? Ah, oh, oh, right? And we're like steaming. We're literally like, beep, like the cartoons, the steam coming out the ears. We're like that. Because all of a sudden it gets unlocked within us and it triggers it to come back up to the surface. All of a sudden that encasing, that frozen encasing cracks and it's like the volcano erupts everywhere. And you're like, what is this? One little trigger and I'm freaking out, right? You're losing your cookies because you're like, what? One little trigger. How did that happen? That wasn't that big of an event. That wasn't that big of a situation. What the F, right? We do that because then we can't make sense of it. Where'd the intellect go then, right? Can't make sense of it. Why am I feeling like this? This was just a small little thing. Why am I feeling so intense about this? Because at one point, maybe a month ago, maybe a week ago, maybe 10 years ago, you experienced some sort of emotion and you didn't allow yourself to process it. You didn't allow yourself to move through that emotion and you put your intellect onto it. You put the intelligent onto it and it went down and it went deep and it got locked in you. Sitting there patiently waiting for the right moment for the perfect trigger to come and poof. And then we're like, ah! And then we don't know what to do with it. And we're like overwhelmed and flooded with all these emotions. And then we're like, I'll get that emotional intelligence stuff back out, get that emotional IQ back out, put it on there, figure it out. Why is this happening? Stuff it down again. Oh, I feel good now. Feel good. I got that. I got where that's coming from. And then another week goes by or a month goes by or 6 months goes by or a year goes by and another thing, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the emotional outburst gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're like, why does this keep happening? Because we're not processing and moving through the emotions. Spirit, that's the fourth piece, by the way. Spirit, mind, emotions, body. They're all connected. They all work together. And they are like their individual spheres, each to be respected and honored and experienced. I love experiencing the higher spiritual self. I love going into the mind field and playing with my mind and mindset and understanding and logic and analyzing and figuring out and puzzle making. I love being able to feel, oh my gosh, I love being able to feel all of it, that I have the ability to swirl and surge and none of it, that it needs to make sense, that I could just feel. And I love being able to explore this body, being in this physical body and having this physical experience that allows me to be right here, right now, to use my words in my throat and my eyes and all my beings in my hands and flail them around if I want to. Each in their own respect, each working together as a whole. And so the journey to processing, the journey to navigating your emotions is to start to feel them, and not get stuck in them, not get trapped by them, not sit in them for days and days and days and days and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and months. That's a choice. I give myself permission to fully feel this emotion for 5 minutes. I give myself permission to fully feel this emotion for 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever you want, and feel it. It will teach you something. And just like the child, some people get fearful now, right? Because they're like, oh my God, I'm going to feel this emotion. What if I don't like this emotion? What if I get stuck in this emotion? What if I have to feel this emotion forever? What if the child that has a temper tantrum, do they ever stay in a temper tantrum forever? Do they stay in a temper tantrum freaking out, like high velocity temper tantrum for a whole day? No, maybe an hour, maybe half an hour, usually 10, 15 minutes, most of them. Somehow they move themselves through. Maybe they distracted themselves. Maybe other things were happening, but still they move themselves through. And have you ever had a situation with a child where you actually can't do anything and they're having their temper tantrum? You just got to let them go. You got to let them do their thing and you just hold the space. And eventually they move themselves through. We need to start doing that to ourselves. This is about emotional health and emotional well-being. And especially on the planet right now, there are a lot of emotions that are surging and swirling and churning and coming up. And there's going to be even more for yourself If you're a sentient being, if you're empathic, you're probably going to start feeling some of these big emotions that are happening on the planet too. And for those that are just starting to crack open, you're going to be going through emotions. So this is where it's really, really important. And then we're going to wrap up. Really, really important to start feeling your emotions, to move with your emotions, to process your emotions, not from the analytical, but from the feeling, from the allowance. Okay. And if you need any extra support with this, feel free to comment below, reach out to me, message me, come and find us over in our Light Ascension Collective on Facebook. It's a free group. It's amazing. As long as Facebook is alive and well, we will be there. It's amazing. It's called the Light Ascension Collective. We do daily videos in there, meditations. We have an awesome free workshop coming up on February 6th for coaches, light workers, and healers, helping to access more confidence, become more courageous in your being, and really refine. It's totally free to the community. So pop on over there, come and join us. We've got meditations, we've got tools, we've got all sorts of stuff happening in there every single day. I appreciate you so, so much. I'm sending massive love, massive joy, massive expansion and wholeness and goodness your way. And again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to connecting again soon, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.